Welcome back. Yes, yes. Welcome back to As Promised. Now, when I started this little book exploration together, I was gonna go chronologically. However, I woke up really late on Saturday. I woke up around midday and I was in a funky ass mood. I was so off key and I couldn't shake it. I tried to investigate where it was coming from. But for me, I feel emotions like they exist in my body physically. And I could feel this emotion, which I then discovered was fear. So I started to investigate what I was scared of. I was like, I wonder what I'm scared of. Like, what am I feeling fear about? And luckily for me, I have an incredible little brother who is not only as investigative of self like me, he's also someone that reflects me and um helps unpick the thought patterns because we kind of we riff off each other, and I know he's going to be listening to this, so big up you. And I love you so much. And thank you for just always being the best brother anybody could ask for. So I was feeling off key and it was weighing on me. And then I started to investigate because I had watched a play, The Cherry Orchard, at the Donmar Theatre on Friday night. And I started to think, oh, maybe that's where this feeling is coming from. Because what was incredible about this play, and this is why I think theatre is imperative, art is imperative, storytelling and sharing is just so vital in life. The thing that rocked me the most about that play is that production is that they didn't actually, there wasn't a moment where the house lights went down and we as the audience got to hide and watch a production. The house lights pretty much stayed up, so we were actually a part of the story with them. And this play, um um this family who have this orchard, I don't know if people are familiar with that Chekhov play. I wasn't before I did it. Before I watched it, I said I did it like I was in it. It felt like I was. And this family are having money troubles, and eventually it all goes to shit in the play. Sorry if that's a spoiler. And it was really interesting because that production, like I said before, they didn't turn the lights down. So actually, it felt like any of us in the audience could, and it was a device that they played within the play. Any of us could be in these positions. We are all interchangeable at any point. Everything feels quite fragile and unpredictable, especially in the current climate, the current status of the world in regards to how many wars are going on and how many people and children and yeah, people are losing their lives to war. So there's that, and I think that I took that on, which is a great testament to the storytellers. They did an absolutely incredible job because I literally woke up feeling fear. However, I know that that's not good for my body. I know that's not good for my mental, and I also know that fear leaves me stagnant. I can't move forward. I can't move actually. So it took me a lot longer to get on with my day. It took me a lot longer to read my readings. It took me a lot longer to meditate. It just took me a lot longer because I was actually feeling kind of sorry for myself. Yeah, I was. And in the feeling of feeling sorry for myself, I didn't acknowledge that that was also a part of the growth. It's also a part of the expansion. I'm going to get into that a bit clearer. I'm going to make that make more sense in a second. But anyway, I was going to go chronologically in this book, Super Brain by Deepak Chopra and Rudolph E. Tanzi. But having gone through or experienced all of those feelings I was feeling when I woke up, I've I'm actually reading ahead of the book so that I can underline and mark up the parts that I want to talk about. But this section of the book really reckoned with me and I feel like brought me to a place that made me feel at peace with what I was feeling, even though I perceived it as a negative. I felt bad for feeling sad, but then I read this section that I'm going to try and unpick with you now. And I can't lie, through reading this section and also being in dialogue and communication with my brother, I alleviated the physical weight, or I experienced the alleviation of the physical weight of the fear that was keeping me stagnant at the time. So I hope that little disclaimer helps, but let's get into it. So this section is called How Ego Interferes. If self awareness does have an enemy, it's the ego, which seriously constricts your awareness when it steps beyond its appointed function. Your ego leads you to believe that everything is static and calm in your skull, while there are obviously billions of neurons that are remodeling trillions of synapses. There's just a lot going on, right? A lot of energy, a lot of energy. So, without a sense of consistency, you would be exposed to the brain's tumultuous process of reshaping itself as it responds to every experience you have, waking, sleeping, or dreaming. The brain is highly active as you sleep, although much of this activity remains mysterious. So throughout the day, throughout the night, our brains are evolving, they're molding, they're changing, they're relearning, retraining itself, retraining or reaffirming the beliefs that we already have. If we don't acknowledge and investigate through awareness our thought patterns, aka the feedback loops, the brain doesn't stop doing what it's doing, right? So we're actually just re-engaging, reaffirming those feedback loops. Okay, I'm going back in. I hope that makes sense. Once new experiences have registered on the brain, your ego assimilates them. Assimilation, take in and understand fully information and ideas. In this section, I had to keep going back and forth to like um, define words because I found that the language was dense and what I was doing was absorbing it but not understanding it. So I had to go back and start like defining words, which really helped. So you are the eye to whom new things are happening, adding to a storehouse of pleasure and pain, fear and desire that has been building up since infancy. Knowing that the brain's remodeling is always having an effect is important, even though your ego gives us the illusion of consistency. This is also why I was like, oh, that's why I feel bad for feeling sad or having sadness, yeah. I'm going to read that last sentence again. Knowing that the brain's remodeling is always having an effect is important. So we acknowledge that, well, our ego tells us that we're not changing, the brain is staying the same, that, we don't even have to investigate that which is going on in our skulls because that's just the way life is. That's just what it is. Whereas if you acknowledge the fact that, oh no, my brain is changing, you actually have the capacity to go, I wonder in what direction I can change it to, or I wonder in what capacity I want to learn new neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, or which ways I can reinforce better connections. The brain is constantly doing that. If we're aware of that, then we can guide it basically in the right way. Whereas if you're unaware, you just allow it to reinforce those old familiar patterns, which you know, leaves you stagnant, which is what I was saying before. Okay. Although the process takes place out of sight, a worldview is being shaped. So no matter what, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're growing, as long as you're here on this in this existence, a worldview is being shaped. Your worldview is being shaped via that which you allow the brain to reinforce or you encourage it to change. Okay. I wrote here learned behavior and slash responses. So Although the process takes out of sight, although the process takes place out of sight, a worldview is being shaped, and years later, whenever a new experience, pleasure, or pain occurs, it will be compared to the old ones before it finds its place in memory. So if you are effectively used to suffering, or you've become familiar with the thought patterns which are things aren't never going to get better, or this is how it's supposed to be, or how sad this is, or how sad my life is, and all this other stuff, no matter what, you reinforce that in your journey. You continue to reinforce it in the future. Like, all you have is the capacity to change that which your brain is doing in this instant. But because it's probably easier for us to not investigate the brain as a living organism, we're actually just reaffirming suffering. We're becoming over familiar with those feedback loops, those thought patterns. Okay, so this was me trying to figure out what was happening to my brain this morning when I was feeling sorry for myself. Okay, this section. The world isn't fixed. It exists as we experience it and absorb it into our worldview. It exists as we experience it and absorb it into our worldview, which therefore means if you experience it with an attitude, a narrative of, I have a friend called Jojo, big up Jojo. I don't know if he listens to this. But whenever something challenging happens in Jojo's life, Jojo will say, "It is well. It is well." And he's reinforcing thought patterns that it is well. And he's encouraging his brain, and I'm sure his nervous system and all this other stuff, that it is well. Things will be good. And to be honest, Jojo is one of the happiest people that I know. He's very playful, also very annoying, but in a good way. um, you will face the world according to the picture you have built up in your brain. You will face the world according to the picture that you have built up in your brain. I guess that also goes down to how you position yourself in regards to the realities, the collective realities of the world. I believe if you're like my friend Jojo and you say it is well, then the world view, how you experience it, yeah, it shifts, which I believe is what Jojo does. So now we get into the actual ego part. That was the brain part and worldview part. This part is the ego part, and this is what actually helped me. This and my little brother. This is what actually helped me alleviate the weight that I was feeling today. Egotism is the common term for extreme self-centeredness, but that's not the issue. Everyone is caught in a paradoxical, yeah, situation with the ego. You can't function without one, but making everything personal can turn into ego delusion. I, me, mine overrides every consideration. Instead of having a point of view and strong personal values, which is the good side of ego, the egotist winds up defending his biases and prejudices just because he holds them, which is the bad side of the ego. The ego pretends to be the self, but the true self is awareness. When you shut out any aspect of experience by saying, "That's not me," or "I don't want to think about it," or "This has nothing to do with me," you are excluding something from your awareness, building up an ego image rather than opening up to the endless possibilities. I mean, that really helped me today, because I was like, I was feeling bad for feeling sad. And I was sad because I was like, there is so much loss. Like, you feel, sorry, I feel surrounded, or I acknowledge that there is a lot of loss surrounding the world, self, on a personal journey. And sometimes it feels like you're clutching at straws, but you can't quite hold on to anything. And these are all just narratives that, if I allow the brain to reinforce and create neurons around, I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to feel fatigued. I'm going to feel anxious. I'm going to feel downtrodden. I'm going to feel wrong done by, and all these other experiences that can manifest on the journey. However, what this book offers up, and what I think allowed me freedom today or yesterday, whichever day this comes out, is that the ego wants something to attach itself to. The ego is probably where I've protected myself the most in my journey, in believing that I, me, mine, I'm separate, which goes into individualism, or that I am someone that can be wronged, or I have something that can be taken away from me, because that ultimately is where loss lies. And all of that is, it creates separation from the true essence of life, which is just, we are all in communion, we're all on a collective journey, we're all trying to figure this shit out together. But due to, well, the internet, um due to identity beliefs, like someone believing they are better than others, we've all decided that we need to protect ourselves in a way which means we are not connected. So therefore, the egoist thought patterns are the thought patterns that keep you stuck, they keep you stagnant, because you're not acknowledging that not only has these things happened before, in terms of like, there is nothing new under the sun, like this story has been told before and it will be told again. We imagine, or believe actually, or we train our brains to believe that this is it, and this is where we're going to be, and we're stuck and it's all shit and all the da da, when that is not true. Life is about movement. The experience is about journeying. And if we're stuck in a narrative, unless we actually expand beyond that narrative, unless we actually explore ideas outside of that narrative, not only are we going to be stagnant, we're going to lock down our brains. We're going to lock down our bodies. We're going to lock down ourselves and isolate ourselves, which means that there is no connection. There is no need to live, to breathe, to connect. Sometimes I say all of this stuff out loud, and I'm listening to myself and I'm thinking, but that's probably just my ego trying to get me to not evolve or not explore, because evolution is a part of the healing journey. And this doesn't mean that we're all broken, but we've definitely, life is rough, right? Like, you can't deny that sometimes life throws things at you that makes you think, what the fuck is this? So in order to have peace in the body, which is what the body deserves, each and every one of us deserves that, still that peace, you have to investigate the places where there is not peace, where there is battle, where there is war. I'm going to go on to that bit in a second, because yeah. Let me keep going. Such narrow-mindedness comes at the price of reduced or imbalanced brain activity, which can be seen in brain imaging. Now, new experiences equal new neural networks. They cause remodeling, which keeps the brain healthy. When I read that, I was like, so even in the what is perceived as bad experiences, even in the challenging experiences, they actually help create new neural pathways, new neurons, neural networks, which keep the brain healthy. So even in the negative, there is positive. And that's when I started to feel a lot better. So when people tell themselves, I don't show my emotions, or I don't like to think too much, they shut down regions of the brain. The ego makes these rationalizations to constrict a person's awareness, which in turn constricts brain activity. Consider how some males equate I'm a man with a man doesn't show his emotions, leaving aside the rich existence that emotions provide. This attitude runs counter to evolution. And to evolve is to develop gradually. So, constricting awareness constricts brain activity. Got so much to say that even if you go, I don't want to feel negative emotions, I don't want to be negative, I don't want to have negative experiences, you're constricting the capacity of your brain. Yes, we don't want to reinforce feedback loops that are negative, but the awareness allows us to go, oh, what can I learn from this? Or what can I learn from this feeling? For example, had I not woken up feeling a bit funky, I don't know if I would have gone on this journey to learn what I learned today. So I'm going to keep reading. The brain uses emotions to serve our instinctive needs, geared at ensuring survival. Now, I say this in the podcast episodes when I was talking about art and storytelling, that ultimately as humans, we just want to stay alive. But we want to immortalize ourselves. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm an artist, a storyteller. It's because I want to take part in the immortalization of humanity. The brain uses these emotions. The brain uses emotions to serve our instinctive needs. The instinct is to survive. Incredible. You must use your emotions to empower your passion for reaching personal goals. Now, this is a part of the book where I was kind of letting it rush over me, wash all of those things over me. But then I kind of got involved because I was like, no, Ronks, you need to understand exactly what this is. So there was this sentence: you must utilize your intellect to strat, strategize. Damn. And that sentence came over me, and I was like, I need to deep this better because these are words that, you read and you kind of go, yeah, yeah, I get it. But I was like, no, 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 I don't fully get it. So what I did, I went and Google defined pretty much every single word in that sentence. I turned one, two, three, four, five, six, a 7 sentence word to a lot longer. So listen to this. You must utilize your intellect to strategize. I translated this too. You must utilize, which means make practical and effective. Your intellect, yeah, is the faculty of reasoning and understanding objectively, especially in abstract matters. So I was like, I wonder what faculty means. Faculty, an inherent mental or physical power. Your What does inherent mean? Inherent, existing in something as permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute. So I went back and that sentence started to mean to me, you must make practical and effective use of your permanent, essential mental and physical power of reasoning and understanding. Two, that's utilize your intellect part. To strategize, devise a strategy or strategy. I don't know. I wrote two words the same. Strategy, a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall goal. Another version of strategy, like another meaning, the art of planning and directing overall military operations and movements in a war or battle. Now, a lot of the negative emotions that I've been feeling recently, a lot of the weight, that I've been feeling recently is about the wars that go on in this world. So when I unpicked this sentence and I realized that even in the language that we speak, even in the language that we use to express ourselves, there is the battle, which I mentioned like 10 minutes ago or whatever. So, this sentence, you must utilize your intellect to strategize, ended up meaning to me, you must make practical, effective use of your permanent, essential mental and physical power of reasoning and understanding to artistically plan and direct movements of action to achieve the long term goal, which is personal. Your long term goal is entirely personal to you, but you must do all of that, which I've said already, and I keep repeating myself, in order to feel not only present in your journey, but in control, and I think in your power, like in your in your body, in your currency. And the only way you can feel in your body is if your body feels at home, it feels safe, it feels comfortable to be in, with or without challenge. So it really just made me realize that I'm like, I have I have the tools that I need to create a place that I feel myself in, no matter what the feeling that I perceive is. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So anyway, the second half of that sentence, um, of you must utilize your intellect to strategize, is you must attach your awareness to acquire sobriety needed to achieve those goals. So you got to come out and go, this is an experience. I'm having an experience. Don't get me wrong, I do believe people that are in those places that are literally being killed and oppressed and stuff will not have the opportunity to acknowledge their inherent faculties. However, those of us that are not, it is our responsibility, I believe, to do that, so that we are not only engaged, but we are also activated with that which we feel, that which we see, that which we learn, that which we hear, so that our brains are not susceptible to failure or passivity. You can't change anything externally until you acknowledge that there must be change internally. hmm That's where I'm going with this. So these last couple of sentences. The brain is fluid and dynamic, but it loses balance when it is ordered to ignore or change its natural process. When you constrict your awareness, you constrict the brain and freeze your reality into fixed patterns. And that's where stagnation starts. And that's when you feel stuck, angry, frustrated. Your body does not feel like your own. You can't shake the feeling. You're feeling heavy. You're feeling weighted down. You find it hard to express yourself. You find it hard to socially connect. And all of these moments in time, all of these situations, like if we allow ourselves to exist, if we allow our bodies and our minds to exist frozen in stagnation, there is no external, then we might not be feeling external attacks, but we're attacking ourselves internally. And it is our responsibility to make sure that this is fertile ground, that our bodies are fertile ground, that our minds, brains, spirits are fertile ground for growth and evolution and healing. So yeah. That's where my brain went today, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you go on a journey to like explore and investigate the feelings that you feel, but also not allow them to make you frozen, keep you stagnant. Your brain, your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit deserve more than that because you are a magical, astronomical, absolutely exceptional being. And in order for us to come together as a collective and use those tools, our faculty, our inherent magic, we have to start on work with ourselves. Your Super Brain by Deepak Chopra and Rudolph E. Tanzi. Explored, investigated by Ronke Decalorejo. I hope you have a great week. Thank you for listening. So I actually made a mistake. In this section here, 5 minutes 59 seconds, I said so without a sense of consistency, but actually it says without a sense of constancy. That also goes again to the bottom. If you are reading along in the book, this is page 89. At the bottom here at 7 minutes 53, gosh, this is so technical. I say consistency again, but it's actually constancy where it says, I just found it. Now I can't see. And here we go. Knowing that the brain's remodeling is always having an effect is important, even though your ego gives the illusion of constancy. Constancy actually means the quality of being faithful and dependable, or the quality of being enduring and unchanging, which obviously changes the whole definition of that sentence because, as we know, the brain is ever changing. It is ever moving, molding, growing, that we've learned. So I guess what these sentences were trying to explore is that because we've told ourselves that this is exactly how our brain works, it doesn't change, we limit ourselves in our thinking. It's an illusion to think that it's constantly staying the same because it's not. And that's why you have to come back and correct yourself when you get things wrong. Anyway, love you. Have a great day.